didn't want to do like you thought I did, so I guess I didn't get lucky today, but this allowed me to have more time. Now, today's video is going to be sex talk, one-on-one, I think episode 63 or 64. It's been a while since I've done a video because I had to work, and next Monday I will not be giving you guys no videos because I have to go to jury duty, and jury duty can be anywhere between a week to 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and the longest court cases can last a month. And a lot of people hate jury duty, but I have to go. Otherwise, they'll put me in some handcuffs and throw me in jail for refusal. They like to make people go to jury duty because if they find out you ain't never went in 10 years, the thing is you have to participate. You have to serve at least once or twice. And after they've seen you too many times, then they leave you to hell alone. But that ain't the point of this video. Now, in this YouTube video, and I apologize if you see some kids, because the school that they have here, like most high schools and junior highs, they don't let kids out until 3 to 3:30. So if you see some kids on camera, that's probably why. Now, there's two types of white girls. So when I say sex, white women have sex with black men, there's not just one white woman, there's actually two. And don't worry, I'll probably change the location. I know you guys don't like the sun, because then you can't see my face clearly, but I try to get some shade, and every time I get some shade, it's like I'm cursed. But anyway, the case is that there are two types of white women. And when black men watch these videos and they see the title, they get happy and excited and they jump up and down, and they go out to the movie theater or the park or the gym or at work or at school, and they spit game at beautiful, attractive white women. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is something wrong when you don't know the truth and you don't get exposed to the truth. That's when there's something wrong. And to make a long story short, those guys find out the hard way, and then it leads to a lot of painful rejection. Now, I apologize, there's a lot of commotion going on today on a Thursday, but there's a fire truck. You may not see the fire truck, but you will hear the fire truck. Yeah, I'm on location. There ain't nothing I can do about it. It's just a busy Thursday. Normally, Thursday's not really a busy-ass day, but in this case, it is, so bear with me. I will switch up locations when I'm finished with the jury duty. You know, I'll try to go to Los Angeles City College where it's a little bit quieter, which I can't guarantee. And who knows, we'll get lucky. Now, let's get to the basis of it. A lot of guys make mistakes when they see somebody like me make a YouTube video and they see the title say, sex with white women or Latino women or women from Russia or Germany, and then these guys get mad and upset when they don't get no attention, when they don't get no play. And in all those videos on my old YouTube channel, I told you that there are cases where if you ever take a woman out to lunch and dinner, that woman most likely is going to take you and introduce you to her parents and grandparents. And 90% of the time, the parents and the grandparents, more like the father or the grandfather, is going to ask you, do you have a house? Do you have a car? Do you have a job? And do you actually like my daughter? Or you just here because you just want to have sex with my daughter? They're going to ask those questions. And 99.99% accurately, they have to ask those questions. No matter how you slice it or dice it, they have to ask those questions. That's what parents and grandparents do. Like, to me and you, it's stupid that they ask that. Like, if they see a car outside the parking lot and it's your car down the street, and you be like, well, if you see I got a car, why would you ask if I have a car? If you see, they have to ask that. They have to be 110% sure that you're here for the right reasons. And I already made a YouTube video telling you what's the difference between guys that want to be in relationships and want to take women out to lunch and dinner, and guys that just want to have sex. I already made a video telling you what's the difference. In this video, I have to tell you what's the difference between white girl and white girls with an S. Because there's a lot of men that are very, very confused. And if I don't make that video, then you will never understand or never learn why in our society a lot of guys get rejected and can't seem to figure out why come they can't get nowhere. Now, apparently I had to start the camera over a second time, so it seemed I got lucky on the second try, which is very rare. So this might be a 10 to 15 minute, maybe a 25-minute YouTube video. Don't jinx it, it's not 100% guarantee, but you'll be surprised what I can get out of the time that I have before I hit the gym. So I am a gym rat, and I love going to the gym, and I will be uploading videos of going to the gym maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks into the month of April, because, you know, jury duties is in the way, and when jury duty gets in the way, you don't get the option to pick and choose your jury duty date. So that's going to be problematic. So you guys are going to probably not get no videos for quite a while. My channel's probably going to suffer because jury duty brought me in. And once you do jury duty, then they leave you the fuck alone, because they know you don't like jury duty, but they have to pick you. But like I said, I'll probably make a future video on why people hate jury duty and why some people consider it to be a pain in the ass. Because some people do consider it a pain in the ass. And they would just love for the system to stop picking people that actually have jobs and go for people who don't do shit. But that's a future video. In this video, we're gonna touch on there's two types of white girls. Now, there is a YouTuber by the name of O'Shea Duke Jackson that loves to make these YouTube videos because he feels like a lot of black men love to go after white women when they've been rejected too many times by black women. And he's made this video a total of 8 to 9 times, and I think he keeps making those videos because people don't listen to him, and I understand why people are not listening to him. And I already have my, I don't want to say suspicions, because this is not a murder case, but I have my reasons on why I think he likes to make those types of videos. See, a person of his stature might have gotten rejected maybe once or twice by a beautiful, attractive white woman, and they never try to talk to white women ever again. Now, the white women that you see in the movies and the television shows, the white women that you see that guys take out to lunch and dinner here on the West Coast, you know, here in Los Angeles, California, a lot of guys like to go after white women that are supermodels, fitness models, and actresses. You know, there's the cheerleader, there's the news lady. A lot of guys like to go after those type of attractive white women. They're very beautiful, very sexually attractive. Now, let's talk about the misconceptions of it. Now, it ain't just O'Shea Duke Jackson. There's been at least 50 or 60 or 70 men on YouTube that have claimed that the only time black men actually get a white woman is if she's fat and out of shape. And I'm not going to sit here and BS around. That is true. There are some black men that do date some fat, ugly white women. There are some black men that date some fat, ugly Mexican women. But let me explain what that's about. That's about economic problem. That's an economic problem. That's a situation where you don't make enough money and the city and state that you live in does not allow you to make enough money, and you probably don't have access to a house or an apartment or a car. So it's going to be a situation where if you could date someone, that's all that's available, and that's all you have to take, and that's all you have to pick from until you can figure out how to get a better job and figure out how to expand your money and make more at your job, or get 2 jobs or 3 jobs. That's an economic problem. So when they say 80% of men have been rejected by 80% of the women, and when these women come back to men that they rejected in high school and college, and it's 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, or extreme cases 25 to 30 years later, it's the same women that say they weren't interested in you in the first place. So women who say they don't find you physically, sexually attractive, women who do not look at you as a man to have kids with, are the same women that come after you 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, 25 to 30 years later, they come after you. And you see, when women do that, that's called hypergamous. Hypergamous is a term that gets thrown around on the internet a lot. Some people know what it means, some people don't know what it means, but it's a term that gets used. Or you could use the logic that Big Boss Calvin 83 loves to use on YouTube, that is money, looks, and status. Now, women from the ages of 18 to 29, they're stuck on looks. That's it. Women are stuck on your looks from the ages of 18 to 20. So when a woman is in her prime, when she's from the age of 18 all the way to 29, that's a total of 13 to 14 years that a woman is in her prime. She has all the power and all the control, and she can pretty much dictate anything. If she says that all she does is mess with guys that plays basketball and football, there's nothing you can do about it, for the most part. If a woman likes basketball players, football players, R&B singers, rappers, rock stars, actors in television and film, if she likes guys that are filmmakers, guys that are film directors, there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And 99.999% of the time, when you be trying to talk to these girls in high school, college, you get rejected. 9 times out of 10, who she's trying to get the attention of? Guys that play basketball on the basketball team. Guys that play football on the football team. So those are her types. And if you're not playing basketball and football in high school and college, then you're fucked. Same thing if you go to college, it's basketball and football players. If the girl does not like basketball and football players, then she probably like R&B singers. She likes rappers. She likes rock stars. If it's music. If it ain't sports and music, then she likes acting. She likes entertainment. She likes actors and television and film. She likes the film director. So a lot of women like men that are in a position of power, basically. And if you don't have none of those titles that I just named off, then it's going to be a very bumpy roller coaster ride for you. And that roller coaster ride can last 5 years, it can last 10 years, it can last 15 years, it can last 20 years. Extreme cases, 25 to 30 years. And in that time period, you're going to experience a lot of sexual frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of rage, and a lot of times you're not going to understand why you're being rejected. And I've made plenty of YouTube videos telling you what to do when that situation comes up. Now, white women on the West Coast, from what I understand, in order for you to get with a fine-ass white woman that comes from a strong background, high-class, middle-class white girl, you have to match everything. Everything has to be on point. Your timing has to be perfect. You know, if she graduated from high school and college, you got to graduate from high school and college. If that white girl has a job, you got to have a job. If that white girl has a house or an apartment, you got to have a house or an apartment. No ifs and buts about it. If she makes a lot of money, you got to make a lot of money. If she's established, you have to be established. There has to be an equal balance. It can't be she has everything and you're a bum and you live off the street. That's not going to work. You know, you can't be working at McDonald's or Burger King or Taco Bell or Carl's Jr. or Jack in the Box or Target, and she is the daughter of a CEO that's a multi-billionaire or a millionaire. That's not going to work. You know, there's no way in hell that the father is going to accept the fact that you work at McDonald's and she's the daughter of a multi-billionaire or CEO, and he's a CEO that either is a multi-millionaire or a billionaire, and he's teaching her how to run a company. There's no way in hell he's going to allow that. So here on the West Coast, you have to be established. You have to already have your shit together. There's a book that they made 20 years ago that I highly recommend you read. It's called Get Your Shit Together. It's a book that all men, and including myself, must read. It's called Get Your Shit Together. And 99.99% of the time, you have to be established. So the answer is you can get a beautiful, attractive white woman, but the problem is if you're not established, you're not going to get the white girl, okay? So when you see me or any YouTuber make a YouTube video called White Women Have Sex with Black Men, it is true. White women do love black men that are bigger, stronger, faster, athletic. They like the fact that we can play basketball and football. They like the fact that we can put it down in the bedroom. They like the fact that we work out at the gym, and they like the fact that we have a strong work ethic. The problem is the news media just tells you white women likes black men, but they don't tell you what type. Now, when people say the only time a black man can actually get a white woman or a Mexican woman is that she's fat and ugly, that is due to economics. What city and what state you live in. Depending if you make a lot of money, you might still get a fat white woman. You still might get a fat Mexican woman. And that's not me being rude or disrespectful. That's me just trying to say sometimes you could be in a high class or in a middle class working environment, and that's all that's available. Now, that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. That doesn't mean you're never going to be able to get the type of women you see in the movies and the television shows. What it means is it's just an economic situation. That's the problem. Now, if you get the white women that have a nice athletic body, the white women that have a nice build, the white women that you should go after are the white women that are from the East Coast. Now, whenever you see black men date white women that are not from Los Angeles, California, a lot of times you got to go to places like Miami, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Chicago, New York, New Jersey. You got to go to places like that on the East Coast if you want to date beautiful, attractive white women. Now, if you can get a white woman that is from a good background and her father's been in her life, that is what you're looking for the most part. There's two types of white women. Now, the worst type of white woman to mess with is a white girl that thinks she's black. That's the worst thing you can ever do as a black man. That's high. It doesn't matter if you're a high-class black man, a middle-class black man. That is the worst thing you can ever do as a black man, period, is date you a white woman that thinks she's black. If all she listens to is gangster rap music and hip-hop R&B, that's going to be a problem. Because now you're in a situation where if all she want to do is mess with guys that are Crips and Bloods, that's going to create problems for you. And then if these guys are between 6 feet to 6'5", and these guys are taller than you and bigger than you, she's going to want somebody of that proportion, and then you're just going to be fucked. So you're going to have to understand that it's due to economics. That's all this is economics. Math and science. If you understand the math and the science, then you are at an advantage. If you don't understand math and science, you're at a big disadvantage. People who graduate from high school and college, when they get into the job world, the reason why some of these people can get these big-time, high-class, middle-class corporate jobs is because they understand the math and the science. They understand the numbers. And the people who don't graduate from high school or college, they don't get the same type of women. So it ain't you don't get a woman, it's the avenues you take. Now, when you're on the West Coast, you have to be established. That's just the reality of it. It's not me being rude or disrespectful. It's not me cooning. It's not me simping. It's me just being honest and telling you the truth. It's me explaining to you that you got to be established. If the white woman have a car, you got to have a car. If the white girl has a house or an apartment, you got to have a house or apartment. If the white girl makes too much money, you have to make just enough money to match. You have to match the white girl that's at a high class level or a middle class level. You can't be working at McDonald's or Taco Bell. Now, there are rules to the exception. Now, there are rare cases where a girl might look at you and say, you have some potential, and maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, we can date. That's okay. Now, let's talk about the bad, because a lot of guys always want to talk about the bad. Now, the white women on the West Coast, and I'm not trying to throw nobody under the bus. I'm not trying to bash nobody. This is not a bashing video. This is a self-help video. This is a video to help you, not hurt you, and not to bash women, period. It's to explain. Now, some white women on the West Coast do find black men physically, sexually attractive. There are some white women that are into black men's culture, not just the rap music and not just the physical. The problem is they come from backgrounds where their families are racist and biased. And a lot of times, if you go on online dating and you check out white women's profiles, some of those profiles might say, "I love the BBC." And sometimes you gotta look at the ages. A white woman that's in her late 30s, early 40s, sometimes 50s, they'll always put on their profiles, "I've never been with a black man." And because they come from a family that's racist and biased, they can't be taking black men to their house to introduce to their parents and their grandparents. Now, these white women get called cowards because if they actually find a black man physically, sexually attractive, their number one greatest fear is if they come from a family of money, well, then your parents and grandparents can cut you off. Financially, you don't have no money. So now that black man is responsible for everything. This is why I say if you try to mess with white women that are high class or middle class on the West Coast, you have to be established. If she has a car, you gotta have a car. If she has a house or an apartment, you gotta have a house or an apartment. If she has 2 jobs, you gotta have 2 jobs. If she has 3 jobs, you gotta have 3 jobs. You have to match her. Every step of the way, you have to match her. I don't care if you like it or don't like it, you have to match her. So if you want you a fine-ass white woman that is a supermodel or a fitness model, or you want a white girl that's an actress in television and film, or you want to date the news lady on the news, you got to make as much money as she make. If she makes $15,000, you need to at least make $20,000 to $25,000. And if you have to, you might have to make $50,000. I'm just trying to explain to you that if you're going to mess with the finest ass white women on the West Coast, you have to be established. So it's not, oh, you get a fat, ugly white woman or a fat Mexican woman. That's due to the economics. So a lot of times you have to understand that if you're at a good advantage, you will get the white women that you're seeking. If you're at a disadvantage, then you're just going to be getting the white women that you see that they always stereotype you out. You're the big, strong black man, but you get a fat white woman. And see, what people don't understand is when black men first get those types of women, that relationship lasts for about 5, 10, 15 years. And then what happens is an opportunity opens up from that, and they get a better white woman or they get a better Latino woman. Now, there are rules to the exception, but when you see black men date fine-ass white women, they're not always from the West Coast. They're from the East Coast. You know, you go to places like Washington, D.C. You go to Seattle, Washington. They love black men. You go to Washington, D.C., you go to Seattle, Washington, you will see nothing but black men date white women, and you'd be like, God damn, the white girl's got ass, the white girl's got breasts, the white girl's in athletic shape, she ain't 200 pounds, she ain't 300 pounds, she fine as hell. I'm just trying to explain to you how this system works. I'm just trying to explain to you how this whole thing works. Now, let's talk about the sex. Now, a lot of black men say that white women are the freakiest in the bed. And like I said, white women are very sexual and very freaky in the bed. They give you what I like to call that porn sex, that porno sex. You know, when you fuck the hell out of them, you know that you're getting a lot of emotion out of it. Now, does that mean that they're better than black women? I probably would say, I'm going to say maybe a 60-40. I'm going to say 60% yes, 40% no. Because there are some black women that are super freaky, that are more freakier than white women. But that's another video for another time. But what I'm trying to explain in this video is that white women do have sex with black men 60% of the time. But you do need to understand that the white women on the West Coast, in order for you to get them that are 8s, 9s, and 10s, you have to be established. White woman has a house, you gotta have a house. If the white girl got an apartment, you gotta have an apartment. If a white woman has a car, you gotta have a car. If she has 2 jobs, you gotta have 2 jobs. If she has 3 jobs, you gotta have 3 jobs. That's how it works on the West Coast. Now, if you get white women on the East Coast, you still have to have a house and a car and a job. Now, on the East Coast, it's a different system. They're not exposed to the news media like the white girls on the West Coast. Now, some people might say, what's the difference? Okay, the difference is that on the East Coast, you have a 80% chance of taking a girl out to lunch and dinner. Now, you still might get rejected, but at least you can get a conversation. Here on the West Coast, if you ain't established, then they ain't fucking with you. So when someone says that the only time a black man can get a fat white woman and a fat Mexican woman is what they don't want to tell you in those videos, who make those videos, it's due to economics. You don't make enough money, that's what happens. Now, that, like I said, there are rules to the exception. I've seen black men date fat white women that was not ugly. I've seen black men date fat Mexican women and they were not ugly. That's called a misconception. And I already told you in my other video that there's actually two types of fat women. Well, in this video, there's two types of white girls. Now, when you see white girls in their 30s and their 40s or even 50s dating black men, those are the white women who have families that are racist and biased towards black men. So anytime you see a woman that's in her, 35, 39, 40, 42, 45, or 50, 52, a lot of times those white women can't bring black men to their house because their parents and grandparents might be racist or biased. And if she comes from a family of money, she might get cut off. So yes, the fear for her is there. Now, that is probably disingenuous, and that probably is rude and disrespectful for them to do. But when they hit the wall, what you think happens when women hit the wall? They're going to go after what they think is easy to go after. And most black men who date white women don't seem to have a problem with white women in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s. Now, you might say, well, that black man is just desperate, and he probably is desperate. You might say, well, that black man just don't believe in himself, and that might be true. He don't believe in himself. But that's only because those black men don't realize that there's not one white girl, there's two types of white girls. The ones you see in the movies and the television shows, we try to go after those types of white women. Like women like Jennifer Lawrence and Jennifer Lawrence and Scarlett Johansson, they're not really from Los Angeles, California. If you look at their bios and how they broke into Hollywood and how they became actresses, they're not from Los Angeles, California. They might live and reside here in California, but they're not from California. There are other places that you can go to meet beautiful, attractive white women. You can go to San Francisco, you can go to San Diego. I'm just trying to tell you that if you go to other places besides Los Angeles, you can get a very beautiful, attractive white woman, and you don't have to worry about all the stuff that I'm talking about. So, yes, white women can put it on you in the bedroom, and yes, white girls are some freaks. I mean, there are some freakity freak motherfuckers. I'm just being brutally honest in this video. But I have to explain to you that whenever a black man first gets rejected by a white woman, you always have to ask yourself the billion-dollar question. What type of white girl was he trying to get his Mac on with? Is he trying to mess with the white girl that is a supermodel? A fitness model? Was he trying to approach the white girl that's an actress in television and film? Was he trying to step to a white girl that just graduated from high school and college? You have to always ask yourself, what type of white girl was he talking to? Because there's white girls with tattoos. There's the golf white girl. There's the white girl that's into heavy metal rock and roll music. There's the white girl that's into hip hop gangster music. You always got to ask yourself, when he does get rejected 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, what white girl were you talking to? Now, if you're talking to the white girl that's into gangster rap music, that's probably the wrong one for you. Unless you're hood, that's the wrong one for you. Now, if you're talking to a white girl that comes from a family of money like Paris Hilton and you get rejected, that's probably why. Sometimes you might have to start off with the white girl that's in the middle, that's middle class. Sometimes you might have to talk to a white girl that's from the East Coast. Then there's the white girl down south. You can go to places like Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas, San Antonio, Texas. So there are some white girls there that are fine as hell with big butts. So there are some white girls that have ass like a black woman, that has class and respect. So there's two types of white girls. There's white girls that do respect black men, and then there's white women, unfortunately, that disrespect black men. And most men can't make the distinction between the two because they believe they're the same. Sometimes it could be a case where the white girl is just fine as hell with a nice athletic body with banging ass and titties, and that white girl's disrespectful, but then you get you a white woman that's 200 pounds or 300 pounds fat and out of shape, and she's respectful. Same thing with the Mexican women. So basically, I should change the name of the title of this YouTube video to Sex with White Women and Latino Women Have Sex with Black Men. Same thing with the Mexican women. A lot of those Mexican women cannot bring black men into their families because here on the West Coast, the parents and the grandparents can be racist and biased. And guess what? A lot of times they are. And usually the Mexican woman can't go after a black man until she's like 37 years old, 39, 40, 42 years old, 45. So there are cases where you see black men date women of those advanced ages. So when women hit the wall at stage 1 and stage 2, between the ages of 35 to 65 years old, when these women are over the hill, that's when you see these types of women date black men like me and you. So I'm trying to explain to you the different scenarios and the different situations on why this happens in our society. So I'm trying to explain to you, if you're going to try to date you a white woman or a Latino woman, you might want to try the East Coast and not always the West Coast. What's the reason of insanity? Reason of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting new results or expecting different results. Sometimes you have to try something different. Sometimes you can't do the same thing that you see in a movie or in a television show. That's why I said here on the West Coast, you got to be established. Now, when you get white women from the East Coast coming to the West Coast, that might be how that black man was able to get that white girl. So when you see a black guy in a high class or middle class area, it's not necessarily him dating a white woman from that area. What it is he met someone from another city in another state that came to California, and that's how he was able to do that. Now, does that mean that because he did it, that means you now have a shot? Probably not. Just because I can work in the Grove area and I can get maybe 20 or 30% of white women's attention, that don't mean you can do it because I put it in a video. Different situations for different people. Different circumstances for different people. So what I'm explaining to you is that there's two types of white women. There's two types of Mexican women. Understand the difference. One shows respect, the other one shows disrespect. Now, there are times where both of them have a tendency to be biased. So, yeah, that does happen. And like I said, there are rules to the exception. Now, I'm not trying to bore you to death. I'm just trying to give as much information as I possibly can that can help you so you will know the clear signs and the difference. There are cases where a white girl has none but all tattoos and body piercings, but she has respect. Then you get a white girl that has no tattoos, no body piercings, but then she's disrespectful.